Good afternoon, everyone. My good friend, I noticed Christian Balendra is here, and so is Suresh. And to the other eminent speakers and, of course, participants. Firstly, I want to thank all of you, in particular the organizers, well anchored by Dilip and Hisham, for inviting me as a speaker for this afternoon's session. But what I wanted to know is why pick this session? This is what they call the Siesta Session. 2 hours after lunch, the carbo is just been digested and the sugar level is a bit high. This is the time when you prick your sugar level. I have a mighty task trying to make you all stay awake. Standing here too, I counted that I'm probably the 7th or 8th speaker. And it reminds me of how my performance would be. Imagine I'm the 7th husband of Elizabeth Taylor. And you're wondering what transpired before me. And I was lucky enough to sit here, having gone through Richard Quest, Puni, Anita, and all that. I'm going to punch above my weight. So it's going to be a challenging time, but I'm going to try my best to share a little bit on a most difficult subject. In fact, I didn't go... I thought it was breakthrough in investment the original title was Breakthrough in Investment Tourism. And I'm scratching my head as to what it is. So I just added the word breakthrough in investment through tourism because I'm trying to combine a little bit of business, marketing, and how it impacts tourism and vice versa. Damien, the speaker earlier, said he has been here 5 times, I think. I'm privileged enough and lucky enough. This is my 10th trip to Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lankans should clap a hand for why I keep coming back. The first day was at the Galle Face Hotel. And then I got to know Christian, and I realized the best hotel in Sri Lanka is Cinnamon, live and grand. So I'm here. He's providing free food today, so why not? And I was lucky enough to get to know the people from John Keel's Holding, sharing some of my thoughts and experiences with them and become very good friends. And I noticed the Sri Lankans, like a lot of the Asians and Southeast Asian people, are warm, hospitable, culturally very aligned with our thinking and our business ethics. So it's indeed a pleasure to be back here again in Sri Lanka, in particular in Colombo. So I'm going to kick off knowing the time. I've got only 17 minutes and I got 60 slides. But you can download from a web. Obviously, it's quite a bit of all right. Future of Tourism Summit. I don't look like this probably maybe another 30 years from now. But I realized before I walk into this room, the average age of this room was about 45. So now that I'm up on stage, the average age now is probably about 55. So what I'm saying is listen to your elders' advice, not because they're always right, but because they have more experiences of being wrong. Here's a man who has gone through a lot of ups and downs. Just broad-based, I'm not sure whether all of you know that the world now has about 7 billion population. And what do? You can enjoy... I know it's 430 million people are unemployed. Surprising, quite a few are retirees. I haven't been able to pick the numbers here. 400 million are entrepreneurs. 1.4 billion work in agriculture. And the other thing which is not shown here, I think it's around year 2010 maybe, more than 50% are now urbanized. That means they live in cities. For your information, I think Sri Lanka is only about 30%. So you've got some way to go, and I have no doubt that it's going to climb very rapidly. Quick facts. I can't profess to be an expert in Sri Lanka, so I can only compare Sri Lanka with Malaysia. And as I go around Sri Lanka, I noticed that Sri Lanka is at a point of 21.3 million population, is tipping point. I still remember when Malaysia was about 20 million population. They were just about building the North-South Highway, the Twin Tower, Putrajaya, and all that. And within that 15 to 20 years, Malaysia basically have rocketed. So I think if you get the formula right, I'm seeing Sri Lanka ripe for success and at the cusp of a boom. So, quick comparison there. We have a much bigger land mass on two different. One is an island, and the other one's an what do you call it, isthmus. 21.3 million population, 32.6 in Malaysia. We're one-third bigger. GDP, this is in US dollar, okay, probably about 4 times. GDP growth, we are slightly higher. I think inflation, we are much lower. Unemployment, practically full employment. Per capita income, about 3 times. Capital city, Colombo versus Kuala Lumpur. I won't bore you with this fact, but this, if you look at both the population of Malaysia and Sri Lanka, continue to go upwards. I'm trying to show this to tell you all that despite all the crises that we talk about, we have to treat every country as a going concern, just like a business. As long as there's population growth, as long as there's live birth, the country will continue to prosper and continue to advance. But what is more interesting is the world population, every 15 years, it increases by 1 billion. That probably started around year 2000. I'm not sure what happened. I think Durex is doing a poor job. All of you have got more interesting things to do, right? And that's something you're going to bear in mind. As long as there's population, as long as there's youth, everything is going to be well, okay? So don't take a little bit of incident on 21 April as, you know, the end of the world. Far from it. You are seeing a man who's gone through 4 recessions, one in the UK in the early 80s, and followed by about the late 80s in Malaysia, and then the worst was probably the Asian financial crisis in 1997. But since then, I've not seen a recession that frequent, and that's probably got to do with the ICT that's prevailing around the world. I'll explain to that later if you have more time. So what are the prerequisites and ecosystem necessary to realize investment tourism? A lot of speakers have spoke about this, so I'm not going to bore you too much detail. We talk about stable government, safe and secure and peaceful environment, strong banking system and ease of obtaining credit. I think it's something which Sri Lanka could improve on. Rule of law and enforceability, you have that. Your language is amazing. English is the lingua franchise of business, right? Hospitable and welcoming population, fantastic. You know, you all have, by nature, is really that friendly. Natural attraction and tourist promotion, fantastic. I've been to Sigiriya, I've been to, I can't even pronounce that place, but St. Andrews, the hotel and the golf course, played my golf there. Next time, I'm hoping Christian will invite me to Victoria Lake. High literacy rate. I still remember when I was a young kid, that's many years ago, my teacher was from Sri Lanka. He taught me maths. And if you want to take a train and you want a nice seat, talk to the station master. He'll probably say Ayo Bowen to you also. Good governance, alignment with UN's 17 SDG. There's everyone professes to try and follow the 17 SDG. I think like in future, like the ISOs and all those, everyone's going to try and comply with that. No capital control and free flow of money, right? Benign inflation rate. Right, I'm going to just share with you a quick video clip. I purposely put it in just after lunch because I thought I should give you a wake-up call. And it's on the role of MSKL. investment into Greater Kuala Lumpur. Some 8-9 years ago, the government decided to put a blueprint and says, going forward, is city versus city. If you look at the competition for business worldwide now, it's not between countries. It's Sydney versus New York, versus London, versus Moscow, versus Singapore, versus Hong Kong, versus Tokyo. And what's Kuala Lumpur going to do about it? I'm trying to lead to this thing about not transient tourism, but sticky tourism, right? Now, Kuala Lumpur, Greater Kuala Lumpur, Klang Valley is it's a bit small. One of the plans of Greater Kuala Lumpur is, of course, to come up with a blueprint for the high-speed rail, the mass rapid transit, which is really halfway there. The first line is completed, the second line is halfway, the third line I think probably may kick off next year. Planting trees, basically making an ecosystem that's very friendly and very attractive to foreign direct investment. And InvestGal was founded to go out marketing Kuala Lumpur, Greater Kuala Lumpur, as a preferred location for regional headquarter and trading hub. And we try and sell this, the advantages of being Kuala Lumpur. So we are the first in terms of best nation to invest in, ease of doing business, number 2 in ASEAN. I mean, Singapore always ranked number 1. Fair cost, 145th is not because it's the most expensive. In fact, the lower the number, the more expensive. We have attractive incentive, world-class golf course, 24 of them in and around Kuala Lumpur. For the ladies, please visit Kuala Lumpur. It's voted the 4th best shopping destination worldwide. And then we have many flights, KLIA, both 1 and 2, where I'm also the director of the holding company. We are flying in about 60 million passengers now to both the terminals. So when we do some research, we found that most of the multinational companies go to Singapore and Hong Kong. How do we bring these multinational companies in Kuala Lumpur so that their spend and the investment in terms of services into Kuala Lumpur would have spin-offs, right, for the economy of Greater Kuala Lumpur. So what we go out is do our research and trawl the information available and knock on doors of people who are in the various services. This will be business, innovation, and talent. So we would have going after companies that want to set up centers of excellence, global business services. For instance, Standard Chartered Bank has got one of the 3 global business services center in Kuala Lumpur, employing about 3,000 highly skilled people. The global tracking center, in fact, is based in Kuala Lumpur. We go after regional supply chain companies, also regional headquarters of the various big names. You can see them: Honeywell, Hitachi, Oceaneering, this oil and gas. Arcadis is consultancy. Johnson, SC Johnson, Perry, Cargill, AXA, IBM, Oracle. These are the companies that successfully relocate to Kuala Lumpur. So live and play. It's the whole building, the whole environment that would attract such investment. So these are some of the shopping malls. Maybe some of you would have been. I would imagine most of these are more than 1 million square feet in terms of net lettable area. Hospitals, indeed, we have become very popular. World's best hospital for medical tourism. If you look at Prince Court, just sold for 1.2 billion by Khazanah to their listed company called IHH, Sunway, Tropicana, KPJ Damansara. All these have now become a destination for people who are seeking treatment or even just wellness. International schools. These are all the international schools in and around Kuala Lumpur. I used to own two of them, Montclair International School, which is American, and the AISM, which is the New South Wales curriculum. Is doing well. In fact, I think Malaysia has become an education center of sort for the region. We have Marlborough, we have Epsom, then we have all the universities you can, from UK, Newcastle, Southampton, Nottingham. From Australia, you have Curtin, you have Monash. So it's become like a great place for young kids to further their education. Theme park for family. So it's offering everything for anyone, not only the male, but their wives. So how does MNCs move up the value chain? InvestKL is not interested in people setting up factories, industry, or manufacturing, because that's low-cost labor. We want their services to come here, so it's about renting offices and bringing their talent in here to handhold our Malaysian talent so that they can get higher paid job and getting regional jobs. So our focus is for companies that turn over US $1 billion in revenue annually, and they must operate to more than 3 countries out of Kuala Lumpur. And if they fulfill the requirements, we can actually give tax break as low as 0%. These are some of the companies. MetLife, it's American, MDAC, this is Oracle. The drugs. This is McDermott, this is oil and gas from Singapore. And the various other companies. The next one, I'm realizing time is running short. Next one is just tourism. Okay. Again, I'm going to leave you all to read these slides because I've got only about 2 minutes. I'm going to run through. This is tourism statistics. We do about 84 billion. We have about 26 million arrival. We're aiming for about 30 million for next year. But I'm afraid with all the uncertainties in the world, that may not be achievable. Tourist spend, total expenditure, tourist arrival by mode of transport, ASEAN tourist arrival, top 5 rankings of visitors, spend, tourist expenditure, main purpose of visit, major activities, hotel and room supply. I think Punik, I think Taj has got the hotel there. Not great numbers, but I think it's sustainable. Now, very quickly to Sri Lanka. Based on those experiences, I think there's good lessons to be learned to share with Sri Lanka. This is a report from KPMG, very positive numbers. Stable economic growth, it's not benign, it's still going, far better than the Eurozone and even America. Per capita income is growing. Strategic importance, major shipping routes, close proximity to Southeast Asia. Of course, located near to India, strong air connectivity, part of One Belt, One Road. Conducive business environment. Okay, it's ranked 111, but you can see others that rank lower than Sri Lanka, and I'm sure a little bit more work by the government, it should improve its ranking. Favorable government policies, repatriation of capital and profits, transparent legal formwork, secure foreign investment, double taxation, condominium ownership on freehold basis. Infrastructure development, I think there's a mega city plan. This is very good. It won't happen overnight, but as long as there's a plan, I think investors will look at it as a positive because all long-term investments are actually long-term. How can Sri Lanka exploit the low-hanging fruit? I think it's got relatively stable government. It can go out and sell a safe, secure, and peaceful environment, rule of law, language and culture affinity, friendly and hospitable population, natural and tourist attractions, population growth, high literacy, adequate governance and compliance standard, homogeneity of citizens embracing diversity positively. Future trend, just very quickly, I think if you want sticky tourists, you must try and entice them to invest in some of your brick and mortar in the country. So these are some of the examples that the developers can emulate. Gentrification of Colombo as Sri Lanka's powerhouse. I think what is needed ingredient would be to improve the accessibility and connectivity, improve the infrastructure, enhance physical, social, and economic environment, liberalize import of talent and returning diaspora, easing pressure on central Colombo and initiating decentralizing out of CBD, invest in infrastructure and services beyond Colombo, resolve capacity and quality issues of airport, ports, and transportation hub, review trade and tariff restriction, transform Colombo into a world-class sustainable city, dedicated fit-for-purpose business hub, ICT, trading, transshipment, leading high-quality, high-yield tourist destination, preferred alternate and retirement home destination, capacity building, provide incentive especially for world-class FDIs, aggressively promote and market the city, have the political will to legislate and regulate. So I was very happy that the Prime Minister himself has said they're doing all these things to try and improve the competitiveness of Sri Lanka. Just some examples, snapshot of small office, home office, retirement units, top 10 retirement destination. I'm very positive Sri Lanka, if you work at it, will be somewhere in this chart in time to come because they've got all the ingredients. Again, just flash out 5 countries. These are the top 10 for retirement, the various plans. You have Portugal, have the golden visa. In Thailand, they've got the elite or just retirement visa. Malaysia, my second home. Till today, we have about 42,000 families that have come into Malaysia. All of them would have bought up units, unit on up. A minimum, there's a minimum purchase price. So these people are going to stay in Malaysia occasionally, but they bring along with them their relatives, their friends, and all that, and that will improve tourism. Okay, Singapore, Thailand, you've got various days. One day I actually asked the Japanese, I said, why do you go to Malaysia and use the program and not in Malaysia? You know, Malaysia, we do have timeshare and all that. He said, Aso, you know, Malaysia, very different from Thailand. Thailand, we got somebody to share time with. The last slide, tourism trends and driver. Demand for tourism product are changing. Improve air and sea linkages, adapting to varying generations. Popularity of eco, medical, and retirement tourism. Better coordination and greater collaboration between government and private sector. This is talking about government incentivizing investors, hoteliers, and people who are going to develop the brick and mortar. Upskill service level, capitalize on current wave, tourism, real estate. The last one I'm going to say is impact of ICT. You know, ICT is such an influence on how countries recover from crisis, from recession, and from economic downturn, right? Think, you know, before we travel, we go Agoda, we go Wikipedia, we don't even think about going to the bank, take money, it's MasterCard, it's Alipay, it's ICT that enables it. Technology allows us to travel quickly over long distances, and you can see all this information has influenced familiarity. When we land at any particular airport, any country, we see the Starbucks, the McDonald's, the WH Smith, the Exxon, the Shells, and of this world, we feel very comfortable. So things move much quicker. The world is indeed a much smaller, friendlier place. Hang on, right? I won't go through that. Life is short, please smile. I think I still have my teeth. So with those words, thank you, Ayubovan.